Almost there. So close. Hey, we are live. Hey, folks. Thanks for joining the BAM podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, and here's our obligatory musical intro. I'll see John dancing. But,
people pay money for that, Mike. People pay good money. lots of dollar bills down my underwear and stuff like that. So.
Have you ever heard a little movie called The Full Monty? It's based on a true story. Sorry, that's my horrible British accent, which is why I don't do accents when I GM. Hey, we have the creative, most of the creative staff for the After Tales from the Trail Volume 2. Sitting creator John Gibbons. How you doing, John?
All good.
Yay. Setting author Sean Nokes over here in the corner. How you doing, Sean?
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, appreciate you coming out. I know it's just a crack of mid-afternoon there in Indiana.
I know they had to pull me out from under the couch, but
okay.
What can you do?
And last but not least, Mr. Cameron Lyle, who's been turning in some great manuscripts, great words for us for Tales from the Trail Volume 2. So thank you very much for that, Cameron.
Thank you very much for letting me.
Well, hey, we got Cameron here. Do you want to talk about his adventure? I don't know how much we want to spoil.
Well, yeah, because the last podcast last week, it was mostly myself and Sean going on about ourselves. So, we've not had Cameron on before, have we? Talking about the after stuff. So why not? I think what I'll do is I've not put an update yet on to say that we've funded. So I'll put an update on and also post this video or podcast onto the update as well, so people can see it. So
that works.
Awesome.
So, Sean, do you want to set up the adventure, or should we let Cameron dive in?
Oh, yeah. Let's hear the tagline from Cam.
Okay. Go for it, Cam.
All right. Just making me dive right into it, huh?
Sorry.
How dare you, sirs? Anyway, yeah. So my adventure is called Breach Birth, and the title is indicative of potential spoilers, so I'm not going to talk any more about that. But what I will say is that it involves the heroes being contacted by a mysterious woman named Ecta Whiteplume of the tribe, and she knows who they are and she knows exactly where to find them, even though they don't themselves necessarily know where they will be when it happens. And Ecta tells them that she is having visions of a terrible calamity about to befall the entire Wind River Valley, and if the heroes don't step up to the plate, the entire valley could be changed forever. Dun, dun, dun!
John was so affected by that drama, he had to go off camera for a second.
It just took it by surprise. That's what it was. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Startling.
So, Sean, one of the things a lot of people have been asking for years, is a plot point campaign for the After. And that's one thing we're delivering to them with this book. How are the adventures from Aid and Cameron kind of fitting into that? Is it they sort of branches on the tree, or how's that go?
Yeah, what's great is they're not going to be disconnected. I mean, if you want to, I think if you're not interested in the overarching plot of the plot point campaign, I think you can still make good use of all the adventures in the book. But what's great is the adventure ideas we've gotten from our writers, all of them are going to plug right into the main structure of the plot point campaign. And really, what you're seeing is events kind of avalanching forward and becoming bigger and more impressive as the plot point campaign goes on. What I really dig is we're going to have kind of the possibility of multiple endings, both depending on how the game master wants to push their personal version of the After and based on player choice. Sure, in every campaign there has to be a little bit of direction, but we're not going to railroad you from event A to event B to event C. There is room to fit all of these big, beautiful adventures in at spots that the game master thinks are appropriate. And I think most of the groups that run the campaign will end up more or less in the same space, but they will all end up with different stories to tell.
What difficulty level was yours, Cameron? Was it for a group of veteran or seasoned? Was it veteran heroes? Yeah. Okay.
It began as seasoned, but I've amped it up to veteran.
Okay.
Now that I've gotten a better idea of where the adventure is going to slot in chronologically in the plot point campaign,
Yeah.
it became clear that we wanted to crank up the difficulty a little bit, and we did just that. I'm particularly pleased with some of the new challenges that got introduced. I actually just sent you some information about one of the new challenges towards the beginning of the adventure that itself might wind up being, should game masters want it, a long-term problem on its own for them to have to deal with. And then I've gotten the opportunity at the end of Breach Birth to offer sort of a first look at one of the larger plot point campaigns new elements that I was super honored to be allowed to do. And I'm really excited about that too. So
Yeah, it was quite some tasty stuff that you sent through by email. And he's again, we're in that situation where we don't want to give too much spoilers away, but you know,
Yeah.
I don't mind giving spoilers away. I have to shut my mouth at times, but it's but ultimately it's, I suppose one thing is because your adventure, Cameron, is it's not, you know, you've tailored it over a few kind of like different, I'm going to call them chapters, but you know what I mean. It is a few
Absolutely.
chapters, and you know, some is combat based. There's some social elements as well, isn't there? And a few other things on the way. What about some of the challenges that people are going to face for your adventure as a party?
Yeah. I very much am a fan of variety in adventure writing. There's nothing wrong with a classic dungeon crawl and just throwing beasties and baddies at players for them to smash. But one of the nice things about Savage Worlds is that it offers a really large toolkit of ways for players to interact and challenges for them to face outside of simple combat. There's definitely combat in Breach Birth, but there is also social conflict and the ability for the heroes via social conflict to really come out on top in terms of how they prepare for the big final push and the final challenge. They're dealing with some black gold folks. There is a chase scene using that particular mechanic, but not in a standard chase way, which is another thing that I really love about the way Savage Worlds mechanics works. It's pretty easy to hack and adjust a little bit. And then along with the social conflict and your standard combats, there's room in there for interludes and really some quiet moments to allow the players to express their heroes on a more intimate personal level. Because for me, one of the most important things, especially when you're writing an adventure like this where it is self-contained, it's a savage tale, but it can be slotted into a larger plot point campaign, is you really want to make sure that it feels organic and intimate and works regardless of how the game master decides they want to slot it in and run it. You want the heroes, you want them to feel like what's happening is happening organically as a part of their character lives, as opposed to something that they've just been slotted into almost video game like, and okay, now go. So the way I do that is I focus a lot on detail work and making sure that the heroes really feel like they're in a place. And you guys did a fantastic job with making the Wind River Valley feel real in the after. So you want that sense of environment to be really strong and that sense of connection to the place to be really strong. And you want the stakes to be tied in to that environment and to that sense of place, because that's where the heroes live. So you want the players to be invested in that as well. And if you're just hacking and slashing, you're going to be less invested probably in that place, as opposed to it feeling like a big, lush, organic environment that they are legitimately a part of. Doing things like that social combat, getting those intimate moments like that interlude where the players are really encouraged to inhabit the stories of the characters and make them a part of the place and the whole.
Cool.
I think that's what I like about Savage Worlds, and especially the way the system has evolved as we've gotten into the new edition. I feel like there are a lot of tools in the toolbox for groups that run different styles. If you want to run Blood and Thunder tactical combat all the time, I've seen some folks that play Savage Worlds almost exclusively as a war game.
Yeah.
They never do it without a full table full of terrain. It's really impressive. And I think the After works for those people just as well as for the folks that want an emotional, intimate story.
Yeah, I think each of the adventures, what I've seen as well, is we've got a nice collection of new bad guys and new foes. So it's not a case of just like, oh, and now you're going to come across. Please turn to page 65 of the core book to see what these creature stats are. It is. We've got lots of new beasties and interesting characters along the way.
Yeah, I did want to shake up kind of the situations that we saw, like Cameron alluded to. It's not. There's going to be plenty of combat for folks that love combat, but there's also lots of other stuff to do, lots of things to discover, lots of choices to be made. I really wanted this plot point campaign to be about choice.
Yeah.
Good. Can I just? I haven't had a chance to tell you this. Can I just say how much I really appreciate, from everything that I've heard and seen about the plot point campaign so far, just how much it feels like the kind of story that could only happen in the After. And that's incredibly important to my personal tastes. It's such a rich and incredible setting. Like, that I literally, when I was first asked to write for it, like, I kind of did a little personal dance of joy, because it's one of my favorite Savage settings. And I'm just really happy to see that flavor and that sort of legacy of the setting carrying on further. That's, I'm just,
yeah, well,
I'm being sappy. That's
no, we definitely appreciate that. It was we've been working on the After for I don't want to say how many years, but
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about a lot in the early days was we don't want people to mistake us for Deadlands. We don't want people to mistake us for there's some other post-apocalyptic Western stuff in the Savage World stable, and I think we've been successful between Sean and John, just getting a real specific After flavor.
Yeah, we've had production meetings about that going all the way back to the beginning, and it's cool that that's recognized, not just here on this meeting, but those of you that leave feedback, comments on our products, comments on Reddit, comments on social media. I see those. Thanks for being so nice.
Yeah, and it is, and especially now that we've got to a stage where the main core book's been out for a few years, the first compilation adventure's been out for a couple of years. They've got this one, and you worry that you want to make sure there's new things coming around all the time, and it's always great to get feedback or ideas from DMs and players out there. That's what I like to see. If people want to see more playable races or new areas to sort of play the After in, they need to feedback really, so we can ensure that we do this stuff for the fan base.
Yep, they asked for a plot point campaign. It took us a while.
They got it.
But we're listening.
Yeah, we're listening.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. It'd be nice to see what comes next.
This one is going to be a big one.
Yeah, judging, I'd say, and looking at the word count for the book, it looks to me like the word count for Tales from the Trail Volume 2 is bigger than the first Tales from the Trail. It's hard to see yet because obviously adventures aren't not fully in, but it looks like it could be at least as big as the first book, which is good.
And just in terms of magnitude of the events too, I think for most tables that run it beginning to end, it's going to change the way their campaign runs permanently.
Yeah, definitely.
Be fair to say this is the Empire Strikes Back of the After.
Oh, it might. You know what? Cover the Return of the Jedi.
Little of both. I mean, if it ends up with the heroes scattered and their leader has their hand cut off, well,
Celery.
sorry, your mind benders and carbonite can't help you.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Just the way the dice fell.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you can find us on Kickstarter at tinyurl.com/theafternewks, or if you just search for Tales from the Trail Volume 2 Kickstarter, we will come up. We funded yesterday, and so now we are on the desperate march to try and get a stretch goal.
Yeah, the last few days. You never know.
Fingers crossed. We're hoping. We're running some ads on Facebook, trying to spread the word. So please, if you've already backed, tell your friends, tell your mom. If you're wondering what to get your grandma for Christmas and you're not quite sure,
she'll love it.
She will love the
grandma. I've got to be careful that I'm not doing some kind of gang sign that I'm not really aware of.
Careful.
I'm just doing all this thing going on a minute. Is that
I live in California. I can tell you. Don't worry.
Where was I saying? Anyway, buy our shit is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Check out our Kickstarter. 3 more days. We funded. We're heading towards stretch goals. And if you've ever want to check out the after, we've got some tiers where you can get in and get all the books. And this is
a good one.
Great place to jump on the bandwagon. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Any other thoughts before we wrap it up and call it a show?
Not from me.
Yeah, I just wanted to say again, I'm super grateful to our community. To the folks that have already pitched in on the Kickstarter, that have pitched in on our previous Kickstarters, the folks that have told their friend about what we're doing here. I'm really grateful for them, because if it weren't for their support, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah, and get the word around. It's funny because I popped by Drive Through RPG, Mike, and I was looking at our kind of copies that we've sold the after, and even now in the last month, there's people still buying a copy of the after and a copy of Tales of the Trail Volume 1 from Drive for RPG, where they can get a bigger bundle for a cheaper rate on the Kickstarter. So it's like,
got to tell those people.
Don't tell them. They won't get a refund. So let's just make that clear.
They want to dip their toe in drive through, but you can actually, like you say, it's a better value if you hit the Kickstarter. You can get the books cheaper, and so
absolutely
check it out.
Yeah.
Future plans: we have the AfterCon coming to Los Angeles, I think, in 2023.
What? Ears perk up.
We've got the Netflix series starring Mario Van Peebles happening in 2025. You laugh. Mario needs work, okay? It's been a long time since our big pitch.
He's still got that Highlander 3 money coming in.
I saw that in the theater.
So did I. So did I.
And after that, it's the next sequel, The After and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah. We're going to de-age Mario Van Peebles for the After and the Crystal Skull. All right. We're making Harrison Ford jokes. It's time to stop. Yeah. Folks, thanks for checking out the BAMF podcast on a Sunday. Hit our Kickstarter at tinyurl.com/theafternewks. And 3 more days. Tell your friends, and we'll catch you next time on the BAMF podcast.